Imagine what you could do with your good heart as a servant leader right now. Imagine if you lived in and had full abundance. What good could you do?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Blah, Blah, Blah Something Wellness podcast. We are diving deep into money mindset and what that really looks like as far as not just the financial responsibility, but what is your relationship with money? So as we get into that, I'm your host, Tami Sharp. I am joined by a couple of my team members and we have a special exciting guest. Real quick, Greg, will you introduce yourself, Tiffany, and then Monty?
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you for having me on again. And my name is Greg Nottingham, and I am a 31-year retired sergeant from a local sheriff's office here in Arizona. And I have a lifetime of money mismanagement, so a lot to share with you today.
Awesome. Thank you. Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Graaff. Glad to be back. Excited about today's topic. 20 plus years in law enforcement, patrol, detective, school resource. I'm also a veteran, U.S. Air Force. And I am a big fan of the FIRE movement and anything that's going to get me closer to retiring with dignity.
Awesome. Great. And Monty, welcome.
Awesome. Wow. Look at this crew. Oh my goodness. So yes, I'm 32 years of public service, 25 in law enforcement. Rest of that was Marine Corps. I happen to own 5 businesses, and I started early on as a baby cop because someone said, my FTO said, I hope this is not the only income you have. So I really looked up to this guy and I started to learn, and I ended up building, eventually, through a bunch of scrapes and bruises, how to actually build some businesses. So
Awesome. And I need to talk to you offline, get some business motivation because being a cop, you guys know it's hard, but also being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's go back to kind of the beginning of your guys' careers when you were baby cops. And, Greg, you mentioned you made a lot of money, mistakes. What was your mindset or awareness around money when you first started?
Well, that's an interesting one, because when I first started, there was the only awareness around money was that there was never enough. And we always needed more, and we always needed more, and there was never enough. And when I started in 85, I think I was bringing home just under $9 an hour as a recruit in the academy. And nobody ever said anything about money. Nobody ever said, hey, start saving. Nobody ever said get into deferred comp. Nobody ever said, put some money in investments. Nobody ever said anything about retirement or being prepared. And sure, I should have probably been able to do a lot of that on my own. But as a 22-year-old, newly married at the time and in the academy, that's the furthest from my mind. This is just a full-time job that I've always wanted to do. And that's where my mind was at, and not merely thinking about the future or retirement. That was a day that was so far away that there's plenty of time to think about it, because it's so far away. And trust me, if you're in the academy or fresh out of the academy or even a few years on, and you're watching this podcast, start planning for retirement today. Start saving your money. Do something to have some retirement benefits coming in when you retire.
Awesome. Thank you. Tiffany and Monty, what about you guys?
Well, I definitely can identify with Greg, and that money was far from my mind. I probably would have done the job for free. So, and I practically did. And I was happy. I was happy to even have a steady job with benefits, something that seems secure and exciting. So I didn't really pay attention to those benefits like the deferred comp, those matching programs. I didn't think about that. That was so far from my mind. And I'm sure we can all relate that now seems so far away then that yeah, it wasn't even a blip on my radar. So I'm really glad that later on I got more of a DIY financial education. And it's never too late to start, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
I love that. Thank you. Monty, what about you?
Nice. So when I started, kind of like Greg, I always knew, and Tiffany, I always knew I wanted to be in law enforcement. But I came from a background. My mother was a teacher, my father was a teacher, my stepfather, they were all teachers. And the great gift that I had was, I told my mom I wanted to do two things. I wanted to protect people, be in law enforcement or military, and I wanted to be wealthy. And the gift was this. She didn't give me limiting beliefs. She said, "Oh yeah, totally. It's totally possible." And that was a big gift. So I didn't have anything like, oh, cool, mom said it's possible. And her advice was you just have to go and find the people that have done it. I know, she said, I know because I invest in real estate and I know it's possible. We didn't grow up wealthy, but we weren't broke. And that's the biggest gift, Tami, your thing is mindsets. And that was the gift that I had, not realizing it then, but remembering that it was possible. I never thought that it was. And I just had other friends that were like always having limiting beliefs about, yeah, I didn't grow up that way or making excuses. And quite honestly, it is just excuses. That, okay, somebody's figured it out. Someone's figured out how to turn $1 into $10 and $10 into $1,000, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Love that. Perfect segue into the mindset, because one of the things I mentioned in the previous episode is wait, before I do that, I'm going to give you guys the same pop quiz. So when I complete the sentence with like one or two words, when I think about money, I think what? First word that comes to your mind. Greg, go.
Necessary.
Necessary. Tiffany.
Security.
Security. Monty.
Expansion.
Expansion. See, so those beliefs that come in, for the audience, if you do that to yourself, the first word that comes into your mind is going to be part of your belief system around money. That's not locked into place. The thing is, your beliefs aren't actually your own. That is all learned behavior that was conditioned from your childhood, things that you were, either your parents, you were TV, media, whatever it is. We are raised in a lack scarcity mindset. There's never enough. You can't afford it. And then all of the fun sayings, money doesn't grow on trees, money's evil, which I corrected this in the first one. Money is not evil. That is not the saying. It's for the love of money is the root of all evil. So it's not that money is evil. Money is just a tool. We made that up. We made it up. We are printing. Oh, we could go into a whole rabbit hole down. We won't, but it's just one resource. It's not the only resource. So one of the things I want to get into as well is talking about the abundance mindset. And, Monty, you run multiple businesses, and part of that stems from your, childhood of just being empowered. So I think, if you guys tune out of this right now and you're like, I don't need to listen to this podcast, just take this away. You are worthy and you're capable of creating as much wealth and abundance as you want. Even that doesn't mean, so before I get myself in trouble with these episodes, because, we're talking about entrepreneurs and create your own business and you can make up, your own schedule. You could do all this stuff. I know I'm going to have chiefs being like, everybody left because they went to go get rich. That's not the intention. First of all, if you're in law enforcement because you're in it for a paycheck, we can go and unwrap that. That's going to be a problem for you. You're going to burn out. You're not going to have that passion or purpose. You're just going to be in it to watch that countdown clock until you retire. And if you put your happiness off until retirement, guess what? Shocking. Greg can talk on this one. It doesn't just magically appear. So you want to plan ahead and stay within, if you're in law enforcement, you're doing that for a reason. You're there to help people, to serve your community, to make a difference. And you don't have to only be locked in to that 9 to 5 or whatever your shift is paycheck. So Monty, let's talk about, what was your first business? What got you? Because did you get into business as a cop?
I did. I did.
Okay.
So, I mean, the very, 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 very first thing I did was, I believe that was like a multi-level marketing with ACN. It was a communication company. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So it taught me, the basics, and that I could, if you didn't make the money, you didn't make the money. And those were the starting principles. It wasn't just like, hey, get in a business suit and you're going to make money. It started taking me, it's not going to happen by itself. And that was a big lesson. But you said something, really impactful. You said a lot of really impactful things there. I just wanted to have the flexibility to create the career that I really wanted to. I didn't want to be beholden to, I did it for that purpose. I wanted to be a detective. I wanted to be running around like Batman all the time, but I didn't have Batman's money then. So I had a responsibility to the family and I couldn't blame the job. I knew what the job was. So I had to create another pathway, and that's what I would plant seeds at, and tell people. It's not just for, retirement. It's now plant seeds so that you have a better vacation, because your family is definitely taking a hit. They're constantly worrying about you. They're constantly, to your point, if they're listening to other people, in lack. And I didn't want them to be in that. I wanted them to not ask, can we afford that?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a question too of if people, especially with vacation, as a first responder, you have to take your vacation and you need to be present on your vacation.
Yeah.
Even if your vacation's a staycation, it doesn't matter. You need to be present for your family. You need to be present for your significant other and yourself. So if you're on vacation, you take a break from work, but you're checking, you have the radio on, you're checking your text messages, your emails, your, whatever that is, that's not a break. And when it comes to the money, well, we can't afford to take it. You can't afford not to. That is
Right.
your time to disconnect and recharge and remember that not everybody's an asshole. That's a big one. Like, just to be honest, you got to step away and be like, all right, cool. My podcast, I can say what I want.
No, it's great.
Wait, they're not?
What?
I keep telling myself that, but
Well, I mean, I have to take, yeah, we all have. We all have to do that. Which also, on that note, take a vacation from social media and the news and all of that too. That's a huge, even if you stay home and you're still working, just turn the devices off and give your brain a break from that. Okay. So, and I love that you worked for ACN. So, cause that just brought in, I know like my entrepreneurial path, like I started with a lemonade stand with,
Nice.
I'm going to go into that because we're talking to cops. So, back in the day, kids could run lemonade stands and it was just normal and it was cute and, everybody supported it. And now you get into some of these communities where you got HOAs calling or, people coming in and being like, you don't have a permit or a business license or a food handler's permit. And you do unfortunately have some cops that will go and be like, hey, we got a call. You can't do it. I'm going to just ask you, if you are in law enforcement and you get that call, go buy the lemonade. Give them their 25 cents or $1 and say you're doing a good job, because that makes such an impact. I learned business and money mindset from a lemonade stand in my little tiny town that I grew up in. We had a Jack and Jill softball tournament every summer. And I mean, my town was in the mountains. There's nothing else there. There's a little convenience store and then campgrounds, and that's it. So everybody would come in from all over. They'd go camping. They'd play their softball all day. And then the convenience store is a little bit of a jaunt to get over to. And so we had our lemonade stand and somebody asked us if we would go and get them like a candy bar or something. And they'd give us $1 to go do it. So hop on our bikes and we run over there and we do that. And we're like, oh, we just made $1. What if, and we didn't have the internet to learn this or anybody teaching us, we just figured out if we reinvest the dollar, we can go buy more candy, and then we have it on hand, and then we upsell and we take the profit and we go buy more candy. So we did that every year. And by our third year, as my little neighbor boy and I, who also is a business owner, successful, we ended up going, before they all got into town, we went and bought all the candy out, set it up. We went and bought the campfire wood, set it up. And then what we would also do is run with our little wagon and go bring back ice. We were running a lucrative business and we were like 8. So
That's awesome.
So business mindset starts young. And so please, if your kids are wanting to do that, teach them. If you don't know anything about business, connect with people that do, that will be like, yes, like that is where you learn so much. That's core memory, fundamental belief systems. So
It's funny, Tami, that you just said something, teach your kids. We have generations, unfortunately, of my family that struggle with money. It started with my parents. My mom's parents were more wealthy, and he was my grandpa was the president of a bank, and so they had money, but apparently they didn't share money responsibility with their kids. At least not with my mom. And so she didn't have that knowledge to share with her kids. And I haven't had that knowledge until just recently to share with my kids. So, generations of struggling with money and trying to make enough money and having to say, can we afford this, more often than just being able to go out and do it. And that's not a fun thing to pass on to your kids. So if for no other reason, learn that money mindset and to handle money now and pass it on to your kids and teach them how to handle money.
I love
I think
that.
just talking about it,
Yeah.
talking about it is so important. And it's really interesting to see the spectrum of involvement and money education we have just in this call. When I was coming up, it was just a conversation that we did not have in my family, and it was just known amongst us that we didn't have money. Or let me say that I think, and not all my family, but I think for retirement, it was just not a conversation. I think it was just assumed that we would work until we died. Or
Yeah.
maybe we might hit it lucky with a scratch off ticket, or I think that was, some folks' retirement plan was that that lucky lotto ticket.
That
And
$1 million lottery ticket.
that's right. Or maybe a lucrative slip and fall at Walmart. There's all sorts of scams and schemes out there, but just having that foundation in personal finance, and that those conversations about relationship with money is definitely something that I am teaching my son now. And with the opportunities that we all have, Tami, like you said, didn't have the internet back then, but wow, what we have now, it is like every child should be working on their entrepreneurial spirit.
Well, oh, so many things to unpack. So yes. So I think controversial topic, maybe, I don't know, but I think we've all had the awareness of our school system is kind of a dinosaur model for our kids. It's setting you up to keep you playing small, in the box, get the grades, pass the test, graduate, go to college, get a job, just to make enough. And it's not enough because cost of living is crazy high and it just keeps going up. And I think if we could all go back in time, we'd all buy houses and land like that, like as an investment, like, crap. But teaching them, especially with the internet, to create a business. That's one of the things that with the kids that we're doing, I'm like, we want a YouTube channel. I'm like, first of all, that's a very frugal, no, just there's a whole nother conversation on that. But I'm like, if you guys are going to do this, you're going to learn how to run it like a business. You're not just going to have it all willy-nilly. But we need to have a security for kids podcast episodes coming up. That's a whole nother thing. I had something else I wanted to say. I was going to unpack something in there. Moving on. I don't remember. There's so much. It's a good topic. Greg, what were you going to say?
And Tami, you did say something, excuse me, with the thought of being able to go back in time and buying houses and land and stuff. And that is such negative thinking. You can't do that, because I know myself, I'll drive myself nuts thinking that, man, if I only woulda, shoulda, coulda, why wasn't I doing this, 30 years ago? Why didn't I do that 30 years ago? You can't do that. You've got to change your mindset, and you got to start moving forward from today on, and just try to do better with what you have now, and learn how to handle your finances and move forward from here.
Well, I love that, because we probably have some seasoned officers that only have a year or two before they retire, or maybe they've already retired and it's like, it's too late for me. No, it's not. No, it's
Right.
not.
Right.
Yep, right.
Tammy and Greg, you guys are, hitting right on the, it's, that's the thing though. It's all relative. So we wouldn't know any different. If we were like, Tiffany's, son, we wouldn't know any different. And the opportunity for, real estate is still here. You just have to learn the game, a little bit differently. It's still here. Yes, back 100 years ago, you could get it for pennies, but we're still making millions. We're still making millions in real estate, whether it's flips, whether it's Airbnb, or pad split, whatever commercial. We're into commercial now, so it's still there. It's the opportunities there. So that's and to both of your points. It is the mindset, and abundance is still there. Instead of like, gosh, I wish I missed. Nope, you're good. You're good. You're older and wiser and ready to go.
Well, that's a great segue. Greg, let's talk about you a little bit.
Let's not.
He's been my project with money mindset, because like you said, you've had a very lax scarcity mindset. And so as my chief of staff and running a business, I've had to look at all of the places where I'm like, where do I have blocks? And not saying that you're a block, but we've worked on it, because I need to get into, we all have work to do. Like, are we worthy? Am I worthy of running a multi-million-dollar company? If you've never made millions of dollars, that's mental work. Like, is it possible, first of all? And you have to work your way up. So I'm going to back that okay, I'm all over the place. Don't worry about me. All right, coming back. So before you can make $1 million, you have to learn how to walk before you can run, right? So if you are just starting out running a business, or you're starting out in your career, or whatever that looks like, $100, when you're a kid, $100 is like $1 million. That's a lot of money to a kid, right? And when you're starting a business, it's like, oh, $100. Okay, cool. And then I think it's Grant Cardone that does the 10 times.
10x.
10x. You do it 10 times. Okay, you start charging $100 or whatever. You put $100 away, and you do that 10 times until you ingrain it into your subconscious. It becomes autopilot. That's comfortable for you. And you're like, okay, I can do that. I can do that all day, every day. We're going to up it now. Now I'm going to charge $1,000 for my service, or what training, or whatever that is. And that's like, ooh, will anybody pay $1,000 for what I have to offer? I don't know. I'm scared. It's uncomfortable because you haven't done it. So then you do it, and then you do it again. Repeat, muscle memory. Now you've done that. And then once you get going, it's like, okay, and you keep upping that, and you do it 10 times until it's comfortable. And the reason that works as a hypnotherapist, it is your subconscious. You are creating neural pathways. You're creating new belief systems that you can do it. It is possible. You are capable of doing it. And if you don't know how, again, it's just like hiring a personal trainer, except for it's for your business, or for your soul, or your energy. That's what coaching is we help you expedite the process. Can you do it by yourself? Yes. Are you going to fail along the way? 100%, even with a coach. But your failures don't have to be catastrophic. You can learn from other people's mistakes. Monty, I've made a lot of mistakes in business. How about you?
Me too. Yeah, for sure. I mean, to your point, it's not, I don't really reframe it. Like, I don't really call it a failure. Failure is I completely stopped. That's a failure. It's just feedback. We know that we got to keep going, and we got to, adjust. And you guys know, as being entrepreneurs, that's the biggest thing, is we have to have that feedback. This is the plan that we set, and it didn't go that way. So we got to adjust, and we got to switch and switch directions. But yeah, I blew $50,000 not knowing what I didn't know, and I didn't ask, and I wasn't humble. I was, a lot more ego and bravado the knowledge. And I thought that's what it was. I was just mimicking what I thought business was instead of being humble and saying, I don't really know what know what to do. And how do you do this? So I pretty quick, I lost it. So,
Well,
I,
yeah, no, keep going.
yeah, no. But one of the, I learned a lot from that. I learned a tremendous amount. So what was the secret sauce? You look at other people and they're driving Ferraris and doing all these cool things. And that was the key. Well, the key was they had the knowledge, they had the mindset. I didn't have the mindset. I was going for quick money and, all these, flash and pan things, and I didn't do the work.
Yeah.
Oh, so you mean if I do the work and I find people that know how to do this and I do, if I get with Tami and she starts coaching me, that maybe there's a likelihood that I could be successful? Oh, that makes sense. It truly didn't before that. It didn't make any sense. And it was a hope and a plan. Hope is not a business plan.
Right. And if I could every time I can get on my soapbox tangent, for anybody that is trying to set out on their own, whether it's for business, a nonprofit, a side project, hustle, whatever it is, we get so excited because it's new and we have this idea and we put in, we create a website, we get business cards and we're so stoked. And we think that because we put all this energy in, people are magically going to get it and they're just going to line up and be like, you're amazing. And then you put it all out there and it's like, crickets. I should put a little cricket sound in there. Nothing. So that's all fun and that gets you motivated and going. But my piece of business advice for anyone, and even if you're just in law enforcement, everybody should make friends with lawyers. Have a lawyer in your back pocket that you can call, hire, and don't do the cheap bottom barrel. Get a good lawyer. If you're going to go into business, first things first, contracts, disclaimers, cancellation policies, douchebag policies. Learn that one. So get it in writing and protect yourself first, because you could create something that's absolutely phenomenal. And if you miss that step, you're going to learn a really expensive lesson at some point. So that is my little soapbox tangent to protect anybody that's doing anything. Do that. Going back to Greg with the original part of it. So Greg's had to do a lot of work around his relationship with money. And one of the things that I teach, and I do this in one of our classes, where I'll drop pennies everywhere and before they come into class, which is always funny because we do it at PDs. And so everyone's like, that's a trap. Not doing that. Like, there's pennies there. And it's fun to see, like, one, did they notice the penny? Did they pick the penny up? We had one lady who was hilarious. She was so mad. She's like, why? We get in, she's front row, and she's got a stack of all the pennies that we had sprinkled everywhere. And she's pissed. She's like, who is dropping pennies everywhere? Going off, but she's got all the pennies. And so to me, I'm always like looking at, is that an indicator of their mindset? You don't even see it. You look past it. What is that? And it's different in a PD because, yeah, it's money. So people aren't usually going to take it because that's dishonesty, right? And when you're out and you're in a parking lot and it's a penny, my question to you guys, and I'm actually asking you guys, do you guys notice them? Do you pick up loose change? And now, hold up, disclaimer, I always say this too. If it's a wallet with like hundreds of dollars, integrity, check that one back. But I'm talking, 5 cents, 10 cents, a couple pennies here or there. Do you guys notice them or pick them up?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't usually go for the pennies. It's got to be like a dime or more. And it depends on, is it dirty? Has it been run over? People spit on the ground a lot. If, how hygienic is this penny? But absolutely, I noticed that. And I'm always on the lookout. You'd be amazed what you can find if your eyes are open to it.
Good one. That's a good one. That's what I love. Tiffany, you just like said something that really resonated. It's RAS, right? Reticular activating system. What you're open to,
Right.
if you're really open, that's kind of what Tami's talking about is, guys, if we're open to abundance, there it is. But if we're open to scarcity, there it is too, And so that's where I think Tami's going to go into expanding your horizons and abundance. Well, dream a little bit. it is necessary to open up your vision, literally, to what's out there, and also be into like rooms like this and networking and people that have gotten there, because it's totally possible. Here I am, a guy from Delaware, you know, middle income at best, maybe, and now 5 businesses, and who'd have thought? I'm going to these masterminds with other millionaires, and I'm like, what? This is crazy. They're talking about like, my significant other introduces me to these guys as a GBI agent. They don't know the difference between a GBI agent and an FBI agent, and they want to hear cool stories. 5 minutes later, they're talking about their Ferraris and their jets and their yachts, and they're not bragging. That's just life. Okay, there's something wrong with my mindset then.
Well, yes, and I love all that. Oh, so much. I love this. This is fun. See, that's the other thing too. Money is fun.
Yeah.
It's okay to have fun with it.
Yeah.
And when you have enough of it and you're not in scarcity and you enjoy it and you're not doing it, if money is your mission, that's where you go into, for the love of money is the root of all evil. If that's your driving force, you're going to have some backlash at some point. But if you're doing things of mission, of purpose, with integrity, it is okay to make money, because money, again, is a tool. And how can you give from an empty cup? I had a friend who, she was working with the houseless community on Skid Row, and she was giving all of her time to down there. And she started being like, I'm going to lose my house. I'm not making any money. I'm like, how are you going to be of service if you're sitting down there with them? It's okay to bring in money so that you can help more people, right? So Greg, with the pennies, do you want to, I can go into my explanation, but do you want to share a little of your story with them?
Well, we've got a couple of the stories. The one is the penny, and the other one was the checks, unexpected. And that's the one I'm going to start with. Is we had done a conference, Tammy, Chris, and I, and we'd gone and met for lunch afterwards. And so after lunch, Tammy and I were talking in the parking lot, and we were talking finances and going through some rough financial times, and she's really, really working hard on trying to change my mindset. And I'm glad she didn't have a 2x4, because she probably would have hit me with it, which probably is something that I would need, well deserved. But she really talked to me about money mindset and thinking more of abundance instead of scarcity. And so on the drive home, it was like, yeah, whatever. I mean, that's not going to work, but okay, I'll give it a try. And I'm open to more money. We need more money. We need to be able to pay our bills. We need to be able to take care of things. And I need to be able to do nice things for my family and give back to the community. And on the way home, I decided I needed to go check the mail, and got to the mailbox, and there were a couple of envelopes there, which I thought was interesting. One to my wife and one to me from the same place. And it's like, what the heck is this? So I open it up, and there were in each envelope was a check, and for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. And it's like, this can't be real. Scam. It's got to be a scam. And I started reading through the paperwork that was with it, and apparently there was a lab company here in the valley that had gone under and was sued, and there was a class action lawsuit. I didn't even know we were part of the class action lawsuit. I don't remember signing up or putting my name in, but apparently they just added all the patients, and they sent out checks, reimbursement checks, for the class action lawsuit that was against the lab company. And boom, there it is. We a couple $1,000 all of a sudden out of nowhere, because I've decided to change my mindset and to open up to more abundance and make it something that was more important and more positive. And so that worked, and that was really nice. And it's like, I don't know how Tammy did that, but it apparently works. And the other one was the pennies. We were talking about pennies because she was leaving pennies behind or around, at the classes and conferences, and she was bringing that up. And again, the money mindset, even a penny. And I think then the following weekend, I was sitting in church and just happened to look down at my feet, and right just under the row right in front of me, under the pew right in front of me, there's a penny. And it's like, how'd Tami get in here? I didn't even see her come in. And there's a penny. And I still have that penny in my pocket. So I carry that with me everywhere because it was such a fun thing to, a positive influence, a positive money mindset, and thinking more abundance and you need to write it down. You need to, if you're gonna manifest for this kind of stuff, write it down. Start, journaling it and write down what your goals are. Write down what you want. I know people out there are going to say, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. Well, you know what? I've started doing that, and I've started writing down and writing down the things that I'm trying to manifest in my life and better finances and more money coming in. And all of the sudden, things are starting to happen that are positive, and it takes work. It really does. You're gonna get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
And if you don't put anything into it, you're not going to get anything out of it. And I've decided that I'm going to put the work into it. And it's hard sometimes, and it's disheartening sometimes, but keep working, keep failing forward, and you write this stuff down, and things are going to happen. And just don't stop trying.
I'd jump in here with I don't know if we're meant to talk about this in this episode, but the less sexy side of the money mindset coin. I think that we might want to mention is the savings aspect. We're talking about creating a mindset of abundance and visualizing or realizing that you're worthy and capable. And if you feel like that is just so far out there, oh, that's so woo-woo, I could never, that just isn't for me. Think about saving. Think about the money that you do have coming in and how are you spending that? Because mindset works both ways in that the money that you are spending, where is it going? Is it going to fill some hole or some need that you haven't otherwise addressed? Do you have a problem with delaying gratification? Are you thinking that you're not worthy to keep this money and maybe later invest or at least save? But I think that's a really important but very boring, unsexy part of having that money mindset is keeping the money that you do have. And so many, especially in law enforcement and in the military as well, you can always recognize those new guys. They come back with they get like their first check, and they come back with like a $70,000 truck. What? Where did you get that? So I think hanging on to your money is just as important as going out there and getting more.
Yeah. We were just talking about that in the last episode too, of like, if you're in the, okay, for the audience, if you're in the academy or you know somebody that's in the academy, guess what? Don't go buy the car yet or the boat or whatever, because you have not made it through and you haven't made it through FTO. So wait until you're actually like a legit cop and then maybe go splurge and celebrate. But don't pre-celebrate. Put that money away. So Monty, were you gonna say something?
No, I mean, I just love everybody's input. I really do. Something on Tammy's thing, or Tammy, as I was, Tiffany, to supercharge it is identify, and give it a goal. What are we saving for? For what purpose? Once we have a reason, right? We have a little bit over here for the vacation. We have a little bit over. It's the dream of, the business that I always wanted. It's the investment I'm going to do for myself. Sometimes, I know Tammy's big into this, is identifying where we're going, the goals, the purpose, intentionality. A lot of us, when it comes to money, in law enforcement, we start off with no intentionality. So it's willy-nilly. But if we go back to law enforcement and the academy, we were very intentional. So get back to being intentional. And again, all the way to again, what Tammy is saying, the abundance, all these principles, they are, they build on top of each other. And Greg talking about, manifestation, as much as it's programming, and it goes back to that RES. Now we recognize, oh, Greg, Monty. Now he recognizes, oh, maybe we could do business together, or maybe there's opportunity because now he's open and he's writing down his goals. I have intention to learn how to be a real estate investor or a car flipper or whatever. Now he's documented that. Guess what? His mind's open to that. Same thing with Tammy. Sorry,
The T.
Tiffany. Tiffany. She is in, yeah, I'm going to get into Airbnb. Now that's part of the reason why she's, saving the money. And now she has an intention. Now she's working with Greg. Greg is, now Tiffany's putting her money to work, investing with Greg. All these things build on each other. So.
Well, okay, so there's two parts I want to go. So one with the pennies, where I learned that, I gotta reference this because I think it was Warren Buffett. I think that's who I originally got it from. But there's a couple different mentors that I've had. They're all successful millionaires that they have their mindset. So one, if you pass a penny on the street, it's just a penny. Pennies, you can't have millions without pennies. It starts with a penny. So if you grow it, you put a penny into the piggy bank, you put some more change in, eventually you have dollars, right? It's the same factor that I was talking about with the hundreds of thousands, right? You have to grow it. Other things, find a penny, pick it up, then all day you'll have good luck. I always say that because it's just fun. Some people have the whole like, oh, well, it has to be heads up or else it's bad luck. I don't know where that came from. I don't buy it. I don't because what I believe is pennies from heaven. It's a little, and I back this up because if you say no to that penny, you're saying to the universe, you don't need it. You don't need that penny. You're set. And if you're financially hurting and you're asking for more money and then money shows up, but now you're too good for it because it's just a penny. That's the whole like, okay, you guys know the story of the flood, the guy on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick where it's flooding and he goes to his roof, he's like, God's gonna save me. So a piece of wood goes by and he's like, nope, God's gonna save me. A guy in a lifeboat comes by, nope, God's gonna save me. Something else comes by and then he drowns. He gets to heaven, he's like, why didn't you save me? He's like, dude, I sent you everything, where were you? Like, pennies add up. I know I did a really bad version of that story, but that's the Clip Notes Tammy version. So now the other thing, because we are talking to the audience and we're kind of talking about entrepreneurial life, and some people might not resonate. It's like, I'm a cop, I don't have a business, whatever. Here's where you all need to tune in. If you're going to rank up, you're going to promote, you're going to become command staff and admin, you're going to become chief. Guess what? You're running a business. And if you have scarcity mindset and there's not enough money, and I know, Monty, you probably deal with this with your business too, working with law enforcement. There is enough money. There is enough money to invest into wellness for your officers. What you can't afford is to lose more of them by being stingy, saying there's not enough money. Yes, there is. Shift your mindset. There's grants. There's organizations. There are private funders. I was told one time that if you're in a grocery store and you're not finding what you're looking for, it's because you're in the wrong aisle. So if you're in a grocery store and there's no money, go to a different freaking aisle. Okay? Soapbox tangent on this one.
That's great. No, I love that. I love that. And essentially, guys, what she's saying is ask a better question. Who's got your money? How about that?
Your money. Love that.
There's money everywhere. Truly. Tiffany has spent all those years saving all this money. But guess what? She's pretty smart. She wants to she knows that every dollar has to go to work. Greg has spent all this time learning real estate. Guess what? Now they're talking. And now she's putting her money to work and boom. Who's got my money? I mean, these things thinking expansively and getting educated. We could be dangerous, guys, because we have to think on our feet all the time. So this is what I always, in my coaching business, with first responders that start businesses, they get a little bit nervous. But this is once we kind of get the playbook, you guys are fantastic at it, and that's
Hello, I just wrote it down. I might title this episode, Who's Got Your Money? Because that, but that's the thing. Who's got your money? Somebody has the money. Again, we made it up. And so going back to the abundance mindset, it might not be the money. Like, hey, you're wanting a new car, but you can't afford a new car. Yes, you can. If you open yourself up to receiving, it's not about, just like with Greg with the checks, it's not about the how. You get out of your own way. You don't have to have control of where everything's coming from, how it's going to formulate. If you do that, you might still get it, but it's going to take longer because you're in your own way. If you're like, hey, I'm hurting financially right now, I need $50,000 cash to come into my life. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know how it's going to get there, but I believe that it's going to come in. I know that it's going to come in, and I'm going to act as if I already have it. Now, when I say act as if you already have it, that does not mean go spend a whole bunch of money that you don't have. It just means energetically, you know that you have that money. That's how I run our whole business. I never know where our next pop of cash, our next training, our next client, our next department, I don't know where any of that's coming from ever. And that's where, when I started this episode, being like, entrepreneurial business life is not for the weak, because you have to have, like, you have to have balls, man.
Hey, can I jump in here for a second? Because what you said is huge.
Yeah.
Because again, it's two different ways of planning. Like if I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it. That's the way I'm planning. But if I already have it, my mind is now shifted, and now I can move into the 3 steps ahead that I actually need to do. I need to do marketing, I need to do sales, and all these other things. If I'm over here, I don't even get to that. I'm just so freaked out.
Yeah.
And that's what Tammy's sharing, sharing with you guys is that's the gift. Is now I get to go move past that stuck position and actually start, finding other people that can get me moving, get me doing what I want to do.
Well, and so back to the departments, because you guys all know. So we're all dealing with it. You guys have your you guys are doing training, you guys are putting yourselves out there and working with departments and people. And if you have a department saying, well, we can't afford that, can't afford wellness, going back to the can't afford wellness. And yes, that I get a little triggered because it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to turn on LinkedIn every freaking week and see another officer suicide, somebody else left, where it's like, you could have prevented it. You do have the money, because guess what? If you have an officer that goes out, that they are not in their right mind, they are not well because they're stressed, they're going through divorce, they didn't sleep, they haven't been eating, whatever, and then they have a shitty day, they make a bad call, and you get sued, all of a sudden you're going to have a couple $1,000,000 to pay out. Where'd that money come from? What if you would have spent the, $1,500, $375 per person for a training? I don't know how much you guys charge for your stuff. 25 grand. We charge 25,000 for the day for a bigger department to send as many people as you can get in to come to our duty driven training. 25,000. They say we can't afford it. Bullshit. Cost you 160,000 to train one person. From not even, you're not trading like the experience, you're just getting somebody in the door, and it's not guaranteed they're going to stay. So don't tell me you don't have the money. Okay, so shift the mindset. Who's got your money? And if it's for all of us for wellness, who's got the money? Let's all unite, which is what a lot of us are doing. There's familiar faces. We're all popping up. If you're in the wellness space in law enforcement, it's all the same faces. We're all saying the same thing. So we unite, we take it to the top. Let's go to the White House, go knock on the door and be like, hey.
Oh, Tammy, you're right. It's gets down to like leadership again. You don't get to complain poverty or I don't have or lack or anything like that. Well, guess what? You're the boss. Go find it. If that means go grab a boot and get on the corner and beg for money for your people, that's what you have to do. And too many leaders in law enforcement and even some of these other first responder have acquiesced and just said, well, it's not my problem. No, actually, that's why we have all these toxic environments. Is because not just, that's part of, wellness is leadership. Leadership is wellness. If you're creating a toxic environment, that's why these people are leaving. And that company that shall not be named is giving out bogus, information and all kind of snake oil stuff. And it drives me crazy. And here is the fix. Create a better environment that is healthy, that is supportive. And guess what? Your guys won't be leaving out the door. They won't. And you'll have a happier, as Tammy's point, less, volatile, less likely to, create problems. And in my space with the training, we can't afford it. We're not training them up to a high enough standard as it is. So if you've got these guys already stressed, there's a good likelihood, yeah, something bad's going to happen.
Well, and Costco, I'm not getting paid to endorse them, but they have, anybody that's worked for them knows they have a really good business plan because they really take care of their people, and the people that work there forever because they enjoy it and they know that they're taken care of, and they get listened to. From my understanding, I'm friends with a couple people that work at Costco and they've been there for 20 plus years. They absolutely enjoy what they do because of the way the company culture is. So, okay, well, I went off on maybe I shouldn't have a big coffee before I do this. I got heated and passionate, like, wee, money. But
I wanted to pop in there real quick with yes, it is so important for our leadership to be recognizing the value that this training brings. And if you're not in a position of leadership, if you're a rank and file person, every guy, every gal type, you also have the ability to advocate for yourself and take that concern to the leadership. And sticking with the theme of who's got your money, you have your money. And one of the biggest mindset shifts that has helped me in changing my relationship with money and ultimately becoming, in my definition, successful with money is that I am not, of course, I'm concerned about today, but I'm worried about, scratch that, I am planning for future Tiffany. And future Tiffany wants to retire and not eat cat food. Future Tiffany wants to not worry about whatever she puts in the grocery cart and not keep a running total. And I have found just doing the things today that are going to benefit you in the future is going to be like step one for changing your mindset. Little things like setting up the Keurig the night before and having the coffee ready to go. How good does that feel when you're waking up and you're tired and you want coffee? Oh, you don't have to set it because you've already done that for yourself. So my advice would really be to advocate for yourself, think about future you, and let that guide you towards who has your money. You already have it if you choose now to act for your future self.
and I want to say too, with that, who has your money? So I was a bank teller for many, many, many years. And one of the biggest things that I see people do that screws you like just hard is if you have a checking account and you overdraft it, you're going to get a fee and you're going to continue to get fees. And now you've just paid out money for nothing. And yeah, you can get mad at the bank all you want. Ultimate responsibility, who spent the money? You did. So, and I see that, and especially if you're depressed and you might even have auto pay set up or whatever, but if you're depressed and that's not your priority and you're just like, oh, whatever, but just I'm going to tell you right now, if you are paying out overdraft fees, stop it. Figure out how to like not do that. Well, I don't have any money. Well, you're throwing money away. That's money that you could have had. And if you're really that like hard up, go find a financial advisor that's going to help be like, okay, here's what you do. Same with credit card interest. And it's hard because I play the credit card game. I get my miles. We travel so much for business. I absolutely cash in on miles and hotels and everything that I can do. But then every once in a while, I get myself I overspend and I'm like, oh crap, now I'm paying interest. I'm giving my money away. That's not smart. That's not good business, right? So you got to dial the interest in, and just be money savvy in that regard. I always like to recommend books. And now, Greg, so I recommend this one. Be honest, you haven't read the whole thing, right?
I haven't read the whole thing. No,
Okay.
I haven't been in a reading place lately, but I need to get out and start reading it.
And it was busy, and I've recommended like a whole bunch of books, but this book is called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. I will say it's a little bit more woo-woo for our typical audience. That's one of the reasons Greg's like, I don't know if I can do this book. And I'm like, just power through. But the whole point of that book is, again, it's about the energy of money. Now, you could sell yourself out, and if it's that like blood money, where's your money coming from? Because it's going to have an energy to it too. So this is a whole nother podcast episode. If you're working the streets and all of a sudden you're kind of becoming like, hey, you're dealing with drug money and gangs and all these things, it's really easy for good cops to turn, and there's a whole bunch of podcasts on those guys, because it's quick money, right? And they need that money, but what is the energy behind that money? So staying in integrity, it's a good book, I think. So anyway. And then Tiffany, you also said something about value, and that is huge. Like, value is back to departments. I'm just ragging on departments today, but do you value your employees? Do you value the people that are literally laying their lives on the line to protect the communities, to show up? Everybody's short staffed, everybody's freaking out and operating from a lack scarcity mindset. I highly recommend that if you are in a leadership position within your department, it is okay to bring in professionals from the external, especially the business world. Have training, have coaching, bring us all in. Freaking Monty and I will show up together. We'll bring our companies together. We don't care. There's no freaking, it's all good. Like, we'll come and teach you guys how to shift everything you're doing in the department so that you are in an abundant, not only financially with budgets, but with people and with morale. So that's my mic drop moment on that. Do you guys have anything else, or I want to honor everybody's time. Okay, so with that, I want to wrap it up, and in true fashion, what I'd like to do is, if somebody's just tuning in to this last part, what is your little, 2-cent mic drop moment of advice that you have for the audience? Greg.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I've got a few that I've written down that I want to make sure I cover. If you're in the academy, if you're in your first year, if you're in your first 5 years, get out of your own way. Start trying to save some money. Start throwing money into deferred comp. Do something to start preparing for your retirement. It's going to come faster than you can even imagine. It's literally the blink of an eye, and you're going to be sitting at 20 or 30 years and thinking, where'd my career go? And I was going to start saving, but I didn't. So start preparing now, start saving now, change that money mindset, make it something that you're doing that's important, and save for the future. And I know in my department, they were all, raises were always few and far between. Nobody could get a raise. I want to get a raise. I want to get a raise. And we were always fighting for raises, and the smart ones were giving themselves a raise. And how are you doing that? You're getting promoted. If you get promoted, they're going to give you a raise and you're going to make more money. So start thinking more, building your career up. I was 18 years in before I even started thinking about promoting. And I don't know why. It was just one of those things. I just had no interest, and I didn't see the financial advantage of it. I didn't see the financial benefits of promoting. I would rather bitch about not getting a raise than go out and try to promote and make that $2, $3, $4 an hour raise because I got promoted. So start building your career, try to get promoted, work on that angle. If you're not getting raises, get promoted. They have to give you a raise when you get promoted. Be careful who you trust. We trusted some people when we first bought our first new home, and being first time home buyers, and we trusted some people over the years that I don't think they had any bad intentions, but they just led us down the wrong path. And our starter home ended up being a 22-year home because we didn't listen to the right people financially. And it was fun while we were there, but then when we start seeing everybody upgrading and selling their starter home, getting into the next nicer home, we were 22 years behind because of the way we were handling our money and trusting the wrong people. And the last point is, if you're in leadership, if you're the sheriff or the chief or in leadership, don't just check the box. Don't just look at wellness for your department and say, oh yeah, we did that. We've got wellness. Whatever it is that you did, it's not enough. You have to do more. Don't be just a check the box leader. You got to check on your troops, make sure they're doing okay, and provide them with all the necessary needs that they might have for their mental health and personal wellness. And that's so important. And if you think, yeah, I just checked the box, I got it. Well, you didn't, because there's so much more out there that's available. So just don't be a check the box leader. Get out there and do what you need to do for your people.
Awesome. Thank you.
I want to just recognize that it is overwhelming and scary. And especially if you didn't come from money or you know yourself to have a scarcity mindset, it can be very overwhelming. And, just talking about Roth IRAs and 401ks and deferred comp plans and emergency funds, people will just tune that out, and rightfully so, because of the ignorance and the lack of conversation surrounding money and all of the undue emotions that we put upon it, that society does, our family does, or we've learned from our childhoods. So before I would give financial advice, I would say educate yourself, and it's okay to start from zero. It's okay to start from zero. It is never too late. You're never too old. If you start today, you will be much further ahead than if you never had. And with that, I would say, if you're unsure of, oh, should I invest in this? Should I invest in that? Should I be an entrepreneur? Should I, penny stocks or Robinhood or real estate? You can't go wrong with thinking about your future self and wondering, what would future me want? Would they regret not taking the chance on the business idea that they've always wanted? Would they, or is future me going to remember that really cool car that I bought to impress my friends, or the time that I bought everyone at the bar around? Probably not, but future you is going to be thankful and grateful for the work you put in now and the basic personal financial education that is never too late to gain.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good
Monty.
stuff. Wow, man, you guys are really good. So piggybacking off of that, is kind of what Tiffany was saying, is the future self, and then also the biggest thing is the education, and that's where I would leave people with um, a book recommendation, one that really got me comfortable and excited about just money and talking about it and thinking creatively. And I think that's the biggest thing. And thinking with imagination we've probably heard this title a million times, but Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's pretty easy read, but it gets you thinking. Okay, possibility, and it's with a little bit of case study and a little bit of easy examples, but it kind of gets you in that mindset of thinking differently about money. Not necessarily about real estate and everything. Don't take that. But the takeaway is thinking differently and creatively about money. It's not something that it will crush you. It's not at all. As Tami alluded, money is simply a tool. That's it. Now, if you're an asshole, as Tami has said, it will maximize you. It will make you more of an asshole. But if you're a good person, so those that have money mindset issues, what would you do with abundance? A good person like you, what would you do with that? How much good could you do? So I always push people, and say, you have a responsibility. You have God-given ability, and God actually does want you to live in abundance. He wants you to be that. Imagine what you could do with your good heart as a servant leader right now. Imagine if you lived in and had full abundance. What good could you do? Instead of sometimes we're on calls and gosh, that's a shame. I wish I could help this family. And imagine if you didn't have to. Imagine if it wasn't, shop with a cop, but it was shop with Monty. And you just because you wanted to, because it was on your heart. So again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, think abundance, and it's totally possible. And get with people that think that way and will help you go there. So
I love that. And so that Rich Dad Poor Dad got brought up in our last one. And I also Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which I'll just put this as I'm still reading it. But if you guys can see that, Psychology of Wealth. And
Yep.
I mean, this is a big read, but all of it is money mindset. And my thing is I've learned how to be abundant. I'm a master manifester. And when it comes to manifesting, start small today for the listeners. like, what's this penny thing? Like, that's believable. It has to be believable. If you're like, I'm gonna manifest $1 million because I listened to this episode, but then you have that little yeah, but that's not realistic. You just canceled it out. So it's not going to work. If you believe that you can manifest a penny on the ground today or tomorrow or this week, if you have a yeah, but, and when I say yeah, but it's that little voice that you say something and then it cancels. It just deletes that because it's a negative belief. So what I would say for you to do is make note of all of those little limiting beliefs. Write them down. This is the homework that I give to everybody. Take a sheet of paper, put a line down the middle. All the yeah buts, you write it down and then you look at it and you cross it out. Pen to paper, cross it out and reframe it, or at least look at it. And if you're like, I don't even know, that's when you definitely reach out to a coach. I do want to do a disclaimer. We are not financial advisors. We are not giving you financial advice. If you were to reach out to any of the coaches on my team, at least, we'll talk about the mindset, your belief system around it, but we're not going to say, oh, you should go invest in a 401k, da 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 da. If that's something that you're into, go find a professional financial advisor and work with them to figure out how to be smart with your money. Learn. And now we have AI too. So if you can't afford to hire a financial advisor, go to and be careful with it. Definitely, verify what's coming to you. But you can even go into AI, you can go, hey, I need a financial plan. I'm $50,000 in debt, and this is my schedule. This is my pay. I go into the voice of Napoleon Hill. What would he do? Or Rich Dad Poor Dad, whatever, and coach me through it this way. Look, I just took away all the value from our business because you can just use AI for coaching. But but it does work, and it can get you, that helps get you into the mindset as well, so that you can take some action steps to start retraining your brain. Now, again, with anything, if you listen to these episodes, it's repetitive because we're trying to get something through to you. It takes at least 30 days to make a habit, 30 days to break a habit. You are training your brain. If you have been scarcity lack mindset your whole life, it's not just going to magically turn on, just like with Greg. It has been a process, like he said. Come on. But eventually, when you practice it every day, it is muscle memory. You start getting stronger in that. And then all of a sudden, you get these little confirmations and then you can grow on it. So, with all of that said, thank you guys for being here. I will put the links to the books and resources that we put in the comments so you can check that out. If you have any questions about anything, you want to challenge us, feel free to, reach out to us, put it in the comments. Be nice, but put it in the comments. Email us. I will put Monty's business information in our comments as well. And thank you all for tuning in. And until next week.